How's it going, everyone out there in YouTube land? I wanted to make a video because I saw a lot of, well, not a lot of, some of my friends here on YouTube who collect comics also seem to be video game heads, and I see Thomas Williams and 87 Boba Fett busting out their old games a lot, and I'm 37 and I've loved video games as long as I can remember. Comics and video games and music, a couple other things, movies obviously, but you love something when you have a passion for it at pretty much every age and stage of your life. And the first video game system my family got, I was 4 years old I believe, and we got a Magnavox Odyssey, and I was hooked. I remember I'd just sit there, it was so crappy. There really were no graphics. There were little blocks and blips on the screen, and when you wanted to play a different game, you had to put it was like a laminate kind of thing, a clear laminate you put over the screen, and it had like maybe a haunted house or a cowboy saloon, whatever the game was, had that painted on the frickin' laminate, so it looked like that was the background of your stage. But it came with actually for the time, a really nice pump shotgun, a light shotgun, and it had a plastic pump. It was heavy duty and it was well made, and I remember the shotgun was as big as I was at 4 years old, and everybody was surprised I could use it, and I played the games, and then my brother and his friends started letting me play with them. After that it was Atari 2600 and so on and so forth from there. And I think I actually still have my original Atari 2600 and some of the games at my parents', but due to the old nature of the hookup for it, I have to find a new way to hook it up. But I have tons more stuff at my parents'. Down here I have my NES's, which you're seeing now, my Super Nintendo, my GameCube, my PS1 and 2, my N64, and I also have 360 and PS3, obviously, original Xbox, a couple others here. But I don't collect games per se, but I never get rid of any of my games or consoles, and I do go buy games that I used to love when I see them at an affordable deal. And I just got a lot of my stuff back, so I'm going to go ahead and show it. Sorry for the long intro, but basically this console was the one from my childhood, the 8-bit NES. I got this Christmas of 1985, and I just remember it so vividly. My parents had a decent sized house, and there was this kind of recreational room over top of our garage called the loft, and that was me and my brothers hang out. And it was connected to the house, but it was separate. You had to walk down this long corridor that had two doors you could close if you wanted to, have some privacy. And it was over top of the garage, and it had ceiling fans and a big pool table, a nice one that my mother gave away, which really pissed my brother off, but that's another story. It had a nice TV for the time, and our video game consoles, pull-out couch for a sofa bed, and that was my hangout. And I remember Christmas '85, got up in the morning, opened this, got an 8-bit NES, the light gun, the robotic operating buddy, which was a hunk of crap in the game. It came with a Duck Hunt, Super Mario, and Gyromite. And I also got a Kung Fu, Hogan's Alley from my grandfather. I believe Elevator Action, that might have been the following Christmas for my grandfather, but I know I also got Kung Fu, which I loved, and Castlevania, which is one of my favorite all-time NES games. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you, I only have a few N64 cartridges and Super Nintendo cartridges, but I'll show them real quick. Excitebike 64, that was a good one. Zelda Majora's Mask, that was a really great game. A lot tougher to beat than Ocarina of Time, if I remember. And I have the hint guide for this still somewhere. I have a pretty decent collection of hint guides as well. 2 copies of Banjo-Kazooie. Great rare game. Star Fox 64. Dirty. I need to clean some of these up. But like I said, I just got some of these back. One of my friends had some of these for years. So Mario Golf. Star Wars Pod Racing. Duke Nukem 64. Get rid of some of this stuff real quick. Oops. Cartridges can take that, they're tough. Star Wars Rogue Squadron, and I remember you had to get a little thing to plug in your N64 graphics enhancer. And this is a really good one. Rare's Conqueror's Bad Fur Day. And this game goes for a good bit of money from what I've seen on YouTube. And I do have the hint guide for this. I got to find them. I have a magazine box full of hint guides, old school. But that's a great game to play anyway. Really over the top, funny, dirty. Reference Clockwork Orange at the beginning. And these are the games that I just remember loving on N64. Me and my friends, my buddy had this huge, like, 61-inch projection TV, and we'd play 4-player split screen on that, man, until the sun would come up on GoldenEye. And then Perfect Dark came out, same thing, man. Those were great shooters for the time. I only have a few Super Nintendo games. I know I have more, but I got to get them back. This is one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. I highly recommend picking it up if any of you have an SNES and don't have this game. Pitfall: The Mayan Adventures. Amazing 2D platformer. Highly underrated, undermentioned game. I actually think this copy belonged to my friend Mark, and I borrowed it, and he like moved to California, and I never heard from him again, so I feel bad. And if you're watching, Mark, I'll send you your game, buddy. Hit me up. I'll buy a new one. This is a great one too. Super Ghosts and Goblins. Fantastic game when Capcom still kicked major ass. Super high difficulty on that game though. You can get it, they have versions and collections for Xbox and 360 and stuff, but Bart's Nightmare, I think my girlfriend in the 90s bought me that game actually. Samurai Showdown, cool fighter too. I was into all the Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat stuff at that time. Now I'm going to get into my NESs, and you can see I have two. This one, my good buddy who's actually fixing my computer tower for me now, he's a computer genius. He refurbished this for me. I gave him some money because, you know, friends got to take care of each other. But, man, he refurbished this one, and it's like brand new. When you stick that game in, it holds it tight. There's no blowing in the cartridges. There's no hitting the power button on and off. It's like brand new, man. He's amazing. And I have this other one that doesn't work so well, and when he has time, he said he'll do that one for me too. So I have two decks, which is pretty damned awesome. You can also see there were two kind of major controllers for the NES, and I had this as a kid, the NES Advantage. It was awesome. It had the arcade stick. It's heavy as hell. It's got a metal bottom. It's got slow motion. It's got turbo, where you can adjust the speed with those dials. This was just a kick-ass peripheral, for the day. I mean, this was heavy duty, man. There were games that I don't know if I would have beat without that NES Advantage. That, like Gunsmoke, for instance. That game was tough, but you could kick its ass with that controller. I have a few controllers. Actually, I have more that in my room in kind of a, what do you call it, a Rubbermaid thing. More hookups and power supplies there. Here's the zapper. It's not the original one. Sorry, it's an orange one. But it works. My original one broke. More hookups. There's the Game Genie book. And that was a pretty cool thing when you were a kid. It was kind of like a way to mod on the NES when I look back. And here's the Game Genie too. So I have that with all the codes in the book. And this is a cleaning cart. They're very hard to find now. They're good to have, though. I bought two because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get them anymore. Now I'm going to try and get into these games here. California games. The game was tough, but I remember trying to play the hacky sack and stuff on it. The Spy Hunter on here, sorry, it's upside down. The Spy Hunter on here was pretty good, actually. And you see the stickers. I used to... back in like 98, 99, I used to be a manager at Funko Land, it was called. It was a video game store that sold used games. They were bought out by GameStop eventually, but when I worked there, they still sold NES carts, and I got a discount, so I beefed up my collection when I worked there. WrestleMania by Acclaim. This was a cool one, actually, the 7-Up Spot game. You wouldn't think it would be, but it's kind of fun. Robo Warrior by Jaleco. Chippendale Rescue Rangers. And I'll tell you what, the sequel to this game is apparently worth like $100 because it was one of the last carts made for NES. So if you have that, it's worth some dough. Battle Chess. I actually used to like playing chess. That was a cool one. Side Pocket. Cool game. Wheel of Fortune Family Edition, Sesame Street 1, 2, 3, Astro Grover, and Ernie's Magic Shapes. That was, I think it was my friend Jeremy's sister, because I bought all his games when he didn't want them anymore. Rolling Thunder by Tengen, that's an awesome game, and Super Sprint. And the Tengen carts are shaped differently because they broke the code, man. They broke the code. They weren't authorized by Nintendo. All the other ones had that Nintendo seal of approval on them. They did not, and it led to a bunch of, fallout, basically. So, Life Force, this is a good one. Konami shooter. It's basically the sequel to Gradius. And it's cool because it uses the Contra code, the up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, BA, that it's ingrained into my memory since childhood, and I'll never forget it, but it works on that game, too. Ninja Gaiden 2. Those were classic Nintendo games. Marble Madness. Great game. The Turtles games were fantastic. The Ultra games, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. Excuse me. And that's just an awesome game from my childhood. And so is this, the arcade game, the sequel. Got that as well. Trojan, this was an underrated game, one of my favorite Capcom titles, a side-scroller beat-em-up, and I love that game. It was good for the time. And one I'm missing that I used to like too is Data East Renegade, and I need to get that, but there's Mega Man 2. I'm missing Mega Man 1. Mickey Mouse Capade. This isn't the same copy, but my good friend Robert, who passed away when we were young, he had this game. I used to play at his house all the time. He was one of my best friends, and I remember liking that game a lot when I was young. Battletoads, this is another one I remember loving. This is a great NES game, Trade West Battletoads. And if you have the one that had Battletoads and Double Dragon on the same cartridge, it's worth a buttload. But here's Double Dragon, I have them on separate cartridges. But this was also Trade West Double Dragon. When that came out, man, that game was hot. But you play it now, it does not hold up. Yeah, this one's special to me because this is actually my cart. My grandfather, who I don't have any grandparents left living, but my grandfather and grandmother, who I was fortunate growing up. My parents, we had a pretty decent sized property in this neighborhood that was like my family's property, and my grandparents had a house right beside us. So basically, growing up, I had my grandparents walk right over there, and they were great. My grandpa bought the elevator action. Still have that, so that has sentimental value. This was one of my favorite games too, Jaleco's Maniac Mansion. It was a LucasArts game. I believe Tim Schafer was involved in this game of Double Fine fame. That is an awesome game for the time. And actually, this version is like the launch version, and I understand that there's an edited version that came out there. It's kind of like a point-and-click adventure, and in this one, you can take steal the kid's hamster out of his room and put it in the microwave and it'll explode. And then you can take the exploded hamster pieces and it'll kill you. And parents got pissed off, so later versions of the game you couldn't do that. But on this one, you can. RoboCop, Data East, love that game too. Batman, this was a good Sunsoft Batman. That was a good side-scrolling beat 'em up platformer type deal. Commando by Capcom. $4 I got that at. There was I don't know, I guess you'd call it like an indoor flea market. It's really kind of redneck flea market that we drive like we drive like an hour up to Delaware to go to this flea market, and they had vendors in there. They'd sell mixtapes, all kinds of stuff, and I got games from them. But yeah, Paperboy here, Top Gun. Konami made so many good games. I got 2 copies of Blades of Steel. Double Dribble, another Konami sports game that most people had. Blades of Steel and Double Dribble. It had NES. Magic Johnson's Fast Break. Here's 2 copies of Bases Loaded. They had some good baseball games for NES for the time. Bases Loaded 1 and 2 were great. RBI Baseball the graphics weren't that great, but it was a fun game. And they had Baseball Stars. It was like the first one that had stat tracking. They had some good sports games, man. Good baseball games too. Super Spike V-Ball. This was fun. It was one of the first ones with the 4-player adapter. I remember it might have come with it. NFL football, not as good as Tecmo Bowl. Need to get the Tecmo and Tecmo Super Bowl. Stinger, love this game. Another Konami masterpiece. Side-scrolling shooter, spaceship shooter. Another good baseball game, actually. This was tough, though, but you could beef up your robots and stuff. Cyber Stadium Series Base Wars. And they would just kind of fight for the bases. Cubert by Ultra Games. Gyrus, I also love this game. Gyrus by Ultra Games. This was a good one. Mission Impossible, some kid wrote on it in magic marker. And to tell you the truth, this is an Ultra game, and I do not remember it really. Shadowgate, this was cool at the time. I really liked it. Probably doesn't hold up well. Millipede by Hal. Is that Hal or High? High, I guess. Look, that looks like HAI to me, but then it says HAL America. So, whatever. That's how they did it in the 80s. Exevius by Bandai. Capcom Section Z. Oh, here we go. Talk about classics, dude. Everybody who had an NES, if you didn't play this game, you didn't have a childhood. If you own an NES and didn't play Contra. Again, up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, BA, start. Everybody knows that was the way to own this game. Great two-player game. Hours of fun on that. And here's a Super Contra. It's a little harder to find. Like that game too. This was one of my all-time favorites, and I need to get Castlevania 2. But I have 2 copies of Castlevania 1 here. There's the other. This one's in a little cleaner and better shape. This is another great... Konami made so many awesome games, dude. Just so many awesome games. Jackal. Got this for $3. This one I paid a lot for, but it's a cool game. River City Ransom. Really ahead of its time. Excuse me. And it was made by American Technos Incorporated. I don't know what else they did, but there's that Nintendo seal of approval, seal of quality I was talking about that Tengen avoided and got in trouble for. But I paid $14.99 for this used in like 1998 or 99. But River City Ransom's a cool game. Dig Dug Part 2, Trouble in Paradise. $5.99 I paid for it. And I got employee discount. Forget what it was, 20% maybe. Now here we go. This is one of the few Tengen carts, I guess maybe took place after the Trouble, because you can see it doesn't have the crazy black shape, and it has the shape of all the other Nintendo carts. But Pac-Man, I believe the black, oddly shaped Tengen versions of Pac-Man and Tetris, I believe they're worth more, but don't quote me on that, because it's been a while since I've gotten into these games. This was another one of my favorites back in the day, Pro Wrestling. I remember when I got this game when it came out, a bunch of the kids from the neighborhood came over to play it, including this one dickhead that I didn't like, so I wouldn't let him in. I was like, oh, now you want to be cool because I have a game you want to play? I was like, go ask your mama for it. Rad Racer. This came with 3D glasses. That the 3D wasn't all that on it, but it was a cool game. I liked it a lot. There's Rad Racer Part 2. Sorry. Now, I got 3 copies of one of the greatest NES games ever made, Super Mario 3. 3 copies of that. Super Mario 2. If I can get that back in its case now. That was stupid. 2 copies of the Super Mario Duck Hunt combo. I used to have them individually, but I don't know what happened to them. They were my originals, but I guess they're gone now. I don't know what happened to them. Maybe they're my parents, who knows. Dr. Mario. I have so much crap up there. One day, the problem is they have cats, and I'm allergic to cats, so anytime I try and go up there and spend some time going through stuff in my parents' house, I end up getting, having to leave because I'm sniffling and sneezing. So. But yeah, I have a bunch of stuff stored up there still. Donkey Kong Classics. This has Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. Yeah, because I think I still have a Rob, that piece of crap robotic operating buddy. I'm pretty sure I still have that up there, because I know it works because I never used it. I used it like twice and put it away. It sucked, but this is a cool game from the Arcade Classics. Popeye. 2 copies of Tetris. Everybody knows and loves Tetris. Urban Champion. This was another game I got on that very first Christmas. Not the best game, but sentimental value because it was one of the first cartridges I got, and I just sat up there all day playing. They had to drag me out for Christmas dinner. This would definitely be on my top 5 NES game list. Metroid, one of my all-time favorites. I just knew right away it was different when I started playing it, because it was this huge open world where you could go do what you wanted. It was non-linear, and you had passwords to continue, and I love that game, and I played through it more times than I can count. And I actually have 3 copies of my beloved Metroid. Here's another favorite from my youth, RC Pro-Am. That was an awesome game. And I have 2 of those. And who didn't love this one? Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Again, a staple of my childhood. I'd like to get the regular Punch-Out. I don't know which one's more expensive, but I'd rather have that one to play, but I'd like to own them both. And this was the creme de la creme when you were a kid. This was the game that, in my opinion, changed it all. Legend of Zelda. I mean, still, I played through it and beat it like a month or 2 ago, and it still holds up. The damn thing holds up because it's that good. There's so many things in this game that were copied by everyone afterwards. It's just a masterpiece. And I remember, as a kid, we were at, it might have been Kmart or something, and I was with my mom, and I saw this game, and I mowed lawns or something. I had some kind of way to earn income. I think I was mowing lawns at the time. But I didn't have quite enough to buy it, and I was like, Mom, you gotta help me get this game. I was like, my sales pitch was, look, it's a gold cartridge. You ever seen a gold cartridge before? It's gotta be awesome. It's gold. And she's like, yeah, I've never seen a gold game. So she gave me the other $20 or $22, whatever it was, to get the game. And one of my favorites of all time. I gotta get Adventures of Link. I don't have that. This was another good one. Came out the same time as Metroid, Kid Icarus, and it utilized that same password system that was brand new to both games. And that's a cool game. It's pretty tough. A lot tougher than Metroid, I thought. It's rough, but that's my original copy of Kung Fu that I got in 1985, and I played that game to death. Love that game. Side-scrolling beat 'em up. And the last game I got here to show is another winner. Excite Bike. Another game I sat there and played forever. But I hope you guys enjoyed looking at my Nintendo stuff. Maybe sometime down the road I'll show my GameCube and my PlayStation 1 and 2 collection. I sold most of my PS2 games, unfortunately, because I had the largest library of those, but I sold it to get PS3 and Xbox stuff when they were new. And I do regret it, because I don't sell any video games, but I sold a library of probably about 80 or 90 PS2 games. I kept Kingdom Hearts and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and a couple other good ones, but wish I wouldn't have sold them. So, especially since PS3 does not have backward compatibility. But I digress. So now you all see I'm a video game nerd as well as a comic nerd, and I love video games. So just got most of these back recently from my friend who I'd let borrow them for a couple years, and had fun playing through Zelda again. And while I got them back and had them out, I figured I'd share them with you guys. And thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing my video games. And I'm out of here, but take care. Happy comic book reading and video gaming.